Hello everyone, welcome again to Prasyuta Fan School. In this course, we will be preparing more about how to be interview ready for US taxation and accounting roles. So what is the need of this course? Basically हम हमारे पास सारे skills होते हैं और रिक्रूटर के पास या फिर कंपनी के पास जॉब भी अवेलेबल रहते हैं बट हमारे पास सारे स्किल्स होने के बाद भी why we are not able to get into that particular job role. The only reason is because we are prepared with the skills to do the work once we get the job, but we are not prepared with the skills that we need in order to get a particular job. एंड दिस इज अ मेजर एरिया जहाँ पे कि स्टूडेंट्स कभी ध्यान नहीं देते क्योंकि उनको लगता है अगर उन्होंने स्किल सीख लिया दे विल गेट अ जॉब। बट ऐसा होता नहीं है बिकॉज आपके जैसे और भी हजारों कैंडिडेट्स हैं जिन्होंने कि जिनको सेम स्किल्स आता है। सो हाउ यू आर एबल टू डिफरेंशिएट यू फ्रॉम द 999 other people applying for the same job. So in this particular course we will be discussing the same, right? So how interview actually work and how to answer with clarity is what we will be learning going ahead. So in this particular course, the entire objective would be understand how interviews are actually conducted. Then we will be learning how to avoid common mistakes that lead to rejection. Along with that, we will be learning how to answer accounting and US tech questions with clarity, not from the textbook, but from the way the recruiter expects us to answer the questions. And then we will be learning how we will be able to present ourselves confidently in interviews because a confident selection of a confident candidate is much more higher than someone who knows the skills but is not confidently answering in the interview, right? So this model focuses more on your communication, the structure you are answering, and confidence, but not more into memorizing the skills or memorizing the concepts of uh, US tax or maybe accounting. So, what is the real problem? Why candidate fails in the interview? Most of the rejections happens only because of poor explanation skills. You know what is accounting, but you are unable to answer in the way you should be able to answer in interview. Could be one of the main reason that you are getting rejected in that particular interview. Mixing accounting and tax concept and lack of role clarity can be another major reason where you are applying for a tax role, but you are in your CV or maybe in your account interview you are adding a lot more, lot more skills or maybe lot more points about account payables, account receivables, or maybe R2R. Or maybe if you are applying for an accounts payable role, but you are adding a lot many skills that you know about account receivable because mostly phrases thinks that AR, AP, and R2R are the similar role in the accounting department. Yeah, these roles belongs to accounting department, but all these departments have their own specific process to be followed. So in case you are applying for a particular role, be focused toward the skills that recruiters would be looking around that particular course. Then, Vic, tell me about yourself answer. I don't know if you are aware about, but 70% of this interviewers reject the candidates only by listening to tell me about yourself. And trust me, none of you, or maybe most of you, never prepare about tell me about yourself. What do we say? I am Subhranshu Patnaik. My family has 4 members. I have a pet dog, or something like this. Does it anywhere relevant to the job opening that you are applying for? No, right? So we will be learning more about how tell me about yourself can help you to crack the interview better. Then interview nervousness. Whenever we attend any interview, we might be feel nervous, right? Because we need that particular job. We do not have a backup and we need particular job. So it is a general human tendency that we will be getting nervous during the interview. So how to overcome out of this nervousness and crack interview better is what we will be looking after in this particular course. So mostly if you see rejections are rarely about lack of knowledge because skills can be trained to each and every individual. Human brain can accept the technical skills really well if trained well. But what a recruiter is looking ahead, if you are learning the skills, how confidently you can apply and work within a given environment. If you are a good team player, if you are a confident person, then any skills can be learned within just 3 to 6 months of your joining the company, and recruiter can happily hire you if you are a confident person. So how to boost your confidence, how to answer The questions and asked in interview in a structured way is what we will be going learning going ahead. So first understand how the interview is being structured. We will be understanding it in a very big picture. We will be not going very detailed to this because the process may be different for different interview, but overall this is how the interviews are carried on for all the companies across the industry. So how it being done? Whenever a job posting is live, candidates they apply for the job role, right? Then resume shortlisting happens, and you would be surprised to know that more than 70% of the candidates get rejected in the very first round, that is the resume shortlisting. So now you can understand, right, how important is to have a good Naukri profile, good LinkedIn profile, and a good CV. Because if you are not having these three things, there is a very high expectation, there is a very high chance that you will be never be able to at least attend a HR screening call, because you will not be visible to the recruiter or maybe to the company that is hiring for that particular role. So we will be learning how to get our resume shortlisted for any relevant job opening that is open for any company that we are interested into going ahead in this course. Then HR screening call. What happens in HR screening call? HR screening call, I would say, is one of the most easiest round that you would ever face during your interview process, because in this round, the HR will only judge your communication, your confidence, and your motivation toward the role. What he or she will be looking after is you are truly seeking for a job. You are not someone who is just checking around or roaming around in the market, that if you are eligible for a job but you are not really looking for a job. That is what in this round they will be looking after. Only that if you are a serious job seeker and you have a good communication skill and you are enough motivated to work, then you will be shortlisted to the next round. Then it comes to the technical round. Mostly technical rounds are being taken by the manager or senior manager, under whose guidance you will be working within a company. And mostly in this interview, you will be getting an exposure to each and every questions, maybe HR questionings. You will be getting technical questions like what is accounting, what are the basic concepts of accounting, if you are applying for US taxes and role, what are the various forms do you know. So we will be discussing detail about what are the various areas of question that you might expect in an interview, technical interview round of accounting and US taxes and role. If you are clearing this round, you will be shortlisted ahead to Excel or practical test. So usually the technical interview or Excel interview, usually they revolve around like some company they will be taking this practical test first and then the technical interview, and some company they do technical interview first and then the practical test, right? So in practical test, they will be looking after is how good you are in Excel. Then if there is some test like Versant etc, they will be taking it, and if you are getting this cleared, you will be shortlisted to the HR discussion round. I will say if there are only two positions, then most probably there is a very high chance that only two candidates will be taken forward to the HR discussion round, or in the very rare case there will be three candidates taken forward to the HR discussion round. So this means that if you are in HR discussion round, you can assume that you are already selected only if you are not making any major, mistake or maybe any major blunder in this particular round. Maybe you are asking for a salary bracket which is, which do not match with the budget of the company, or maybe you are asking some questions that put HR into a doubt that whether you will be a long-term asset for the company or not. So this is a easy round of interview where usually HR try to understand more about your salary expectations, more about would you be a good fit for the company or not. So there is nothing that would reject you in this round, but you should be a bit careful that you are not missing off the interview from your end, right? So why I said you the structure of the interview before going ahead, because knowing the structure definitely reduces that fear of interview, because you know in which round what is being expected from you as a candidate. So going ahead, we will be learning why most CVs don't get interview calls. As I mentioned over here, that almost 70% of the CVs get rejected at the very first moment, and those candidates they never get a HR screening call. What are the main reasons, or what are the important reasons for the same? First is the missing or wrong keywords. Second is generic profile. Third is role mismatch, where accounting, if you are applying for accounting role, you have mentioned a lot about taxation and all. And then fourth one is poor formatting. This is really a very important point that we all should know. So we will be discussing each and every individual point in detail in the followed on slides, right? So what does missing or wrong keywords means? It means recruiter don't read CVs first, right? What happens? First of all, recruiters search the CVs of the relevant candidates through ATS portals or maybe job portals by applying certain keywords. So, what are the keywords? Let's say we have a job opening for accounts payable, then the recruiter will be searching for accounts keywords like accounts payable, invoice processing, or related keywords that is relevant to that particular opening. So if this keywords missing in your CV, then the ATS or maybe the job portal will never search your profile, or your profile will never be visible to the recruiter. This is what happens because most of the phrases or what they mention, if they have done an intensive, they will be mentioning like handle accounting work in a CA form. So how is it helpful that you have done handled some accounting work in a CA form? Because it doesn't have any keyword. Instead of that, you should have mentioned handled account payable, invoice processing, and many more other skills that is relevant to that particular opening that you are applying for. If you are not adding those keywords, your CV never appears in the search results. And if keywords are missing, your CV doesn't get rejected. It doesn't get seen to the recruiter the very first case. So rejection is the secondary case. The first thing that is your CV never get has never been seen by the recruiter. And then the second case come when they see the CV and they reject it. So first of all, our priority should be to make our CV visible, and then to make it visible in a way that if a recruiter is looking after your CV, they are selecting it, because a recruiter only have 3 to 6 seconds in order to read one CV, and then it will be swiped right or swiped left. So you have only 3 to 6 seconds to impress a recruiter through your CV. So how to make such a CV which will help you to get shortlisted faster, we will be learning going ahead in this particular course. Then the second most important point that you should keep in mind, that your profile should never be seen like a generic profile. What is a generic profile? When you see this particular picture or image in this particular slide, will you be able to answer who this person is? No, right? We do not find any differentiation from if we have 3 to 4 other similar kind of pictures over here, there will be no differentiation between this and the third and the fourth picture over here. So the same happens with your CV. When your CV or maybe your Naukri profile shows that it is generic profile, what a generic profile means, your CV tries to fit every role. You have mentioned you are good in accounting, you are good in finance analytics, you are good in data presentation, you are good in taxation, you are good in US taxation, accounts payable, receivable. So you know everything. So what is your interest? It doesn't reflect in your CV, right? Which area you want to go ahead, it doesn't reflect in your CV. So that ends up fitting with no role clarity. The recruiter will think that you do not have a role clarity, that where you want to work or where your expertise is, so that your CV will not be get shortlisted. First case, your CV, if you are following these things, your CV will be visible to the recruiter. Then you have to check that if your profile is visible to the recruiter, it doesn't seem as a generic profile. This is the second case, where after our CV get visible, we have to see that recruiter will not be rejecting our CV. So some of the very common generic lines are interested in accounting, tax, and audit role, looking for growth opportunities, handled accounting and tax work. So these are the lines each and every candidate will be mentioning. So how you are differentiating your CV from the others is what matters when you have to be the one among the other thousand applied for the particular role. So if a recruiter read this particular lines in your CV, the question that comes first to the recruiter mind is, where do I place this candidate, because he is the same as that of the other 1000 CVs that he has received. So if the answer is unclear about where he will be able to position this particular candidate, your CV will be swiped left or it will be skipped without going ahead for HR screening round, right? This is why it is very important to see that your CV is not reflecting as a generic profile as others are applying for the role. Then the third most important thing is role mismatch. Why role mismatch kills shortlisting? Accounting roles CV filled with tax terms, tax roles CV filled with AP or AR terms. What do you understood from this? You are applying for a tax interview, let's say US tax interview, and you are saying that your expertise is into AP, AR, R2, or how it is relevant to a US tax consulting role, right? So if you are applying for a US tax consulting role, but again you want to apply for AP and AR role, always have different CVs for different role. That is the first rule to apply for any job opening that you have to apply for. So always apply for always apply with different CVs for different role. So if you are applying through different CVs for different CVs for different role, the chances of getting your CV shortlisted increases. Then the recruit if you are not doing so, if you are adding all the areas of expertise into one single CV and applying for a US tax and role, the recruiter's conclusion is the candidate is not sure what he is applying or what he has to do in his career. Then higher training efforts, because you are interested in everything, so you will not be able to focus on the one thing, is what recruiter will be assuming. So what he will be thinking that, yeah, if we are hiring this candidate, there will be higher training effort, and then he can be a risky hire because he is interested into finance analyst, right? If I get him a job into tax consultant today, and if we get a finance analyst job going ahead next few days or few weeks, he might leave me and join the other company. So why should I hire this particular candidate? Right? So this is what happens when you have role mismatch, or you have added a lot of skills related to many other I would say, departmental or functional openings in one particular CV. So applying that is what an example has been mentioned, applying for AP role and CV talks about form 1040 and deduction. So this leads into immediate rejection is what this example states about. So I hope you have understand. So in this particular slides, we are not trying to understand how to get our CV better. We are only trying to understand what are the mistakes that we should avoid, because when we understand what are the mistakes that we should avoid, we will be able to help ourselves better in order to make the right CV or make the right Naukri profile. Right? Going ahead, uh, poor formatting. Yeah, this is the fourth point that you should be taking care of. How poor formatting hurts your CV. Too many fonts and colors. Do not add too many fonts and colors in your CV. Always try to use only one font and maximum highlight few of the important skills that you want your recruiter to that your recruiter should see. That do not add a lot of colors or do not add a lot of fonts. Keep it very simple, because recruiter usually read CVs which are quite simple with no long paragraph. Every each and everything should be of a short sentence. There should not be long paragraph. There should be clear sections. If you do not have clear sections, like you have added education, under that you have mentioned your graduation, post graduation, under that education part only you have mentioned your certifications. So how a certification can come under the section of education? It is completely it should have completely different section, right? If you have done some certifications, mention it under certification, so that whenever recruiter feel that he want to see what are the certifications you have done, he would be easily able to identify that particular section. And then one of the most important thing is important skills are being hidden. So not what to do not to hide the important skills is somewhere, if you have mentioned some important skills that you want your recruiter to see it, then you just have to highlight that particular skills or maybe the particular projects that you have done. So if you are not doing so, what are the results? Hard to scan, using a lot of font or a lot of color, will cause ATS error, that will cause your CV not to display again and again to the recruiters, and then recruiter fatigue, because recruiter do not only have your CV to scan, right? He has a lot of CVs to check on. So if you are not maintaining or not maintaining a proper formatting, then recruiter may skip your CV again and again, because as already mentioned, recruiter only spends 6 to 10 seconds per CV while checking out the CVs. So the conclusion to this, if your CV is hard to read, it won't be read, because recruiter has other option to check out. Then what interviewers actually test in interview? Do they test how good you are in academics? Yeah, sometime, but not all the time. What they really check is how good you are in your concepts, not into the definitions. Because whenever a recruiter asks you what is accounting, he is not expecting you to answer with a definition of accounting, because it is of no use to him. How you will be applying the definition into the real working environment, right? You should be knowing what is the process of accounting, so that he will assume that yeah, you are pretty much clear with the fundamentals concept of accounting. Your ability to explain in simple language, if you are able to explain in really very simple language, then he will be taking it like, yeah, if you are able to explain it in simple language with short sentences, then you know what it is, right? Then role understanding. The first thing, the first mistake any fresher do is, while applying for the job or while attending the interview, they do not read the job description. Many of the time you can expect a question, what is your understanding about the role that you have applied for? And freshers get blank over here because they have not read the JD. And at this point of time, you do not have any chance to bluff, because the JD has already been shared by the a company to you, and you are expected to at least read the JD, because if you have not read, you don't know where you are going in the interview. If you are getting selected, what role you will be offered, you don't know. So what you are doing here will be the first question in the recruiter mind, and you will be rejected. Then logical thinking. Why logical thinking is important here? Logical thinking is important here because uh, you will not be walking under a very systematic environment. You will be walking under a very dynamic business environment. You will be walking with people from different background. You will be walking with people from different geographic reason, from different diversity. So you should be very, very proactive in handling situations. You should be very, very proactive into solving things very easily. So then only it can act as a additional point, in order if you are lacking some skills but you are good in logical thinking, this act as a pro bonus for you, where a recruiter will definitely choose you in comparison to someone who is more into technical skills but do not aware about how he should handle the situations during the normal business hours, right? So this is what a recruiter actually tests in the interview. Then communication and confidence. As already mentioned, if you are good in skills, if you know the job responsibilities, if you have done whatever projects you have, even you have work experience relevant to the job openings, but if you are not confident enough, you will never be selected for the role. And communication comes when it is more about a client centric role, when you are more into when you are more into US tax consultant, where you have to be in touch with people from US, or if you are into a client centric role, then only communication matters a lot. Else, if you can speak really good in English during interview, then I hope that's really okay for the interview. If you're able to understand basic English, if you're able to speak basic English, that's all fine. Then the practical mindset, how concepts apply in real work. All right. So your if an interview asks you what is accrual concept, then the answer should not be what you have read in the textbook. It should be something with a real world business example, right? Like interview can ask you why or when a Zomato collects the annual subscription or the monthly subscription, how it is treated in the book of account. Is it treated as a direct revenue, if it is treated direct profit, or how it is being treated? You should be able to answer the following questions through real world business examples, because interviewer don't want to know what something, they want to know how it is used in real work, right? They never want to know what you know, they want to know what how it can be used in real work. So if you're able to explain how this particular concept can be used in real work, you have already cracked the interview, right? So that was a brief about few of the mistakes that we should avoid in order to get shortlisted and to clear the technical round, HR round, or maybe at least the CV shortlisting round for any applied position. So in our second session we will be discussing more about technical questions that a recruiter should is expecting from us to be answered, and how we will be answering it strategically. Because as already mentioned, recruiter is not looking after how good you are into your theories, but how good you are to implement those concepts that you have learned into real world business. All right. So what we will be focusing more about is accounting interview focus area. That is, we will be discussing more about uh, accounts payable, accounts receivables, and record to report. These are the most hired accounting roles for fresher in BCom, MCom, or maybe MBA. So we will be discussing more about this, the important questions that you should be knowing before attending the interview for all the three roles. So this next session is going to be very important for someone who is really looking for a job into AP, AR, and or R2R. Then, as already mentioned, we will be discussing common accounting interview questions, and how to structure the answers confidently is what we will be learning, because we are assuming that you guys already know a basic of accounting, the concepts you already know. We will be only learning how to structure the answers confidently in the upcoming sessions. So that is all for today. Thank you all for joining. Take care. Good day.